Hi everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. You know, as most of you know, from April 13th to September 3rd of this year, Disneyland Resort has made a special event called Pixar Fest. And while I'm excited for the upcoming Pixar Pier and Incredicoaster this June, there's one thing about this event that has got me disappointed. A Bug's Land is going to close this summer to make way for a Marvel-themed area, which will be opening at California Adventure in 2020. Now, I have to admit, A Bug's Land was a fun area for the young ones, where you get to ride on a caterpillar, spin on a ladybug, or play in a puddle park. Heck, even It's Tough to Be a Bug was a very thrilling 3D show, and I'll never forget seeing it at Animal Kingdom back in summer 1998. But still, I'm sad that all of this is going to leave California Adventure this summer. Now, on the topic of Bug's Land, thanks to a generous request from Mr. Gavinator on YouTube, I'm going to blog the Pixar movie that inspired A Bug's Land. Released on November 25th, 1998, the movie is A Bug's Life. Now let's get crawling. Fleck is an inventive ant who's always messing things up for his colony. His latest mishap was destroying the food storage that was supposed to be used to pay off Hopper and his grasshopper gang. Now the strong-arming insect is demanding that the ants gather double the food or face annihilation. To avert disaster, Fleck goes on a journey to recruit fighters to defend the colony. When he meets a band of high-flying circus insects, Fleck thinks he's found his salvation. So, what do I think of this movie? Well, in my eyes, this was Pixar's darkest ever, and I enjoy this movie for that very reason. But to further explain why I still enjoy this movie, let's move on to Mustang Notes. The film is inspired by the Aesop's fable, The Ant and the Grasshopper. Production began shortly after the release of Toy Story in 1995. The screenplay was penned by Andrew Stanton and comedy writers Donald McInerney and Bob Shaw. The ants in the film were redesigned to be more appealing, and Pixar's animation unit employed new technical innovations in computer animation. During production, the filmmakers became embroiled in a public feud with DreamWorks Animation due to the production of their similar film, Ants, which was released the same year. As an additional note, Randy Newman composed the music for the movie, and he written and performed a song called The Time of Your Life, which is sung during the end credits. And in my opinion, this is a pretty catchy tune. Another song that plays in the movie is the Cucaracha, which is performed by a mosquito band at a Mexican bar where the grasshoppers were hanging out. Now, here's where we come to the animation. And in my opinion, since this is Pixar's second animated movie, the animation isn't bad. It's just a bit dated compared to the Pixar films released nowadays. But I think the way Pixar made this movie is very creative. For example, the city that Fleck goes to in order to find help looks pretty good, and it does do a good job at poking fun at human city life. Even P.T. Flea's circus looks pretty good too. despite the lack of audiences, and of course, the acts are loserific, except for the Flaming Death Act. But the acts get pretty good as the circus bugs keep the grasshoppers occupied, while Fleck and the Blueberry Scouts get set inside the bird that they made. Also, in my eyes, Ant Island looks pretty peaceful, and I think that the ants in the colony are very hardworking, and they can be crafty too. Now, since I was 8 years old when I saw this movie in theaters, there were a few parts of the movie that were pretty dark, suspenseful, and terrifying. Not just the grasshoppers themselves, but there's one part of the movie that looks foggy when the ants are taken in as slaves, and the part where Fleck and his friends get attacked by a bird, which was pretty intense, and the part nearing the end of the movie when it rains. However, my favorite parts of the movie are when the ants build a giant bird in order to get rid of the grasshoppers, and the part where Fleck and the blueberry ants fly the bird, which would have worked if P.T. Flea didn't set fire to it. And now, let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought him to life. Our main character, Fleck, is voiced by Dave Foley, who got to be in Monsters University, Sky High, and South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Anyway, Fleck is an inventive but mostly accident-prone ant. In my opinion, Fleck is a very relatable character because his colony won't accept changes like using his harvester invention to speed up food collecting. Speaking of inventions, his harvester, even though it almost crushed Atta and accidentally knocked over the offering stone, is a pretty neat invention, and I think it puts the weed hackers to shame. Plus his megaphone invention, it was pretty useful, and his telescope made of grass and dew is pretty unique. I also think that Fleck was very brave when saving Dot and Francis from a crack in the riverbed, and I like that speech that he makes while confronting Hopper at the end of the movie. Next we come to Princess Atta, the soon-to-be queen of the colony, voiced by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who got to be in Saturday Night Live, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Geppetto, and Disney Toon Studios' Planes. Mostly throughout this movie, Atta is under a lot of pressure while learning to take her mother's place as queen. Still, in my opinion, Atta makes a great leader. Plus, it was her who gave Fleck the idea of building a huge bird when she says that Hopper is afraid of said birds. However, like most folks out there, Atta does not like being lied to. But I'm glad that she stepped in between Hopper and Fleck in order to protect Fleck and tell Hopper off. Next up, we have Atta's little sister and my favorite character in the movie, Princess Dot, voiced by a young Hayden Panettiere, whom, after this movie, got to be Suri in Disney's Dinosaur, Channing Walsh in Racing Stripes, Kate in Alpha and Omega, Little Red Riding Hood in Hoodwink 2, and of course, Princess Kairi in Kingdom Hearts. Now, Dot is Fleck's only friend in the ant colony, and I think that her friends in the Blueberry Scouts are pretty cute. I really like that Dot looks up to Fleck. kind of like my goddaughter Elizabeth. And I like that she never gives up trying to fly, even though she's too little. But still, I like the part where she flew after Fleck and the circus bugs to get their help after the grasshoppers invaded Ant Island. And of course, when she warns Fleck that when the grasshoppers are done eating, Hopper might squish her mother. Speaking of which, next we come to the Ant Queen, voiced by the late Phyllis Diller, whom I remember from the Nutcracker Prince and Happily Ever After. To me, the Queen is a very kind, caring individual with a good sense of humor. While her daughter Atta gets very stressed about becoming queen, the Queen is more relaxed and can make a joke out of any situation that isn't really super serious. She's also nicer to Fleck than most of the members of the colony, just like her little daughter Dot. Also, I think the Queen's pet aphid, Aphie, is pretty cute, due to him having the personality of a lapdog. Next we come to the Ant Counselors. Roddy McDowell as Mr. Soil, the lead thespian. Eddie McClurg as Dr. Flora, the doctor of the ant colony. Alex Rocco as Thorny, Princess Atta's assistant. And David Osman as Cornelius, the elder ant. Next we come to our villain, Hopper, the leader of the Grasshopper Gang, voiced by Kevin Spacey, whom I remember from Fred Claus, Superman Returns, and 9 Lives. Now, to me, Hopper deserves a spot as one of Pixar's most threatening villains, even though I was introduced to Hopper and It's Tough to Be a Bug almost 3 months before I saw this movie in theaters. In this film, Hopper is very ruthless and violent, and thinks nothing of killing the ants, which he considers lower than dirt. Kind of like when he thought that humans were monsters. And his manner of speaking to Princess Atta is very reminiscent to an abusive boyfriend mocking his terrified girlfriend. He also beats up his own gang members and even presumably kills 2 of them in order to keep control of his gang. Also, if anyone does manage to cross him, he'll snap his fingers for his grasshopper dog Thumper in order to beat them up. And speaking of which, in my opinion, Thumper is a very ferocious grasshopper, and I can't believe that Hopper was this close to feeding Dot to him. I mean, sheesh. What is up with family films and the use of attempting child murder? Also, not only is Hopper afraid of birds, but he's also afraid of reptiles, like when he was almost eaten by a chameleon in It's Tough to Be a Bug. But still, seeing him getting eaten by baby birds was pretty disturbing. But it was very hilarious when Tuck and Roll yanked one of his antennas off. Next we have Hopper's brother, Molt, voiced by Richard Kind, who got to be in Tom and Jerry the movie, the first 2 Cars movies, and Inside Out. Molt is also self-proclaimed vice president of the Grasshopper Gang, although nobody believes that but him. Molt can also be very gullible and loudmouthed, but essentially good-hearted and honest. He got his name due to the fact that his armor molts off in flakes. He regularly infuriates Hopper to the point that Hopper told Molt early in the film that if he hadn't promised his mother on her deathbed that he wouldn't kill Molt, he would officially do it. Molt often tries to be scary, but he's never taken seriously, partly because he's so submissive to his genuinely terrifying brother. In the end of the movie, Molt is reformed and joins P.T. Fleck's circus. Next we come to Fleck's circus friends. Slim, a walking stick used as a prop, voiced by David Hyde Pierce, who, after this movie, got to voice Drix in Osmosis Jones. Heimlich, a plump German-accented caterpillar that longs to be a butterfly, voiced by the late Joe Ranft, who got to be in The Brave Little Toaster, Toy Story 2, and Finding Nemo. Frances, a short-tempered ladybug that is constantly mistaken for a female, voiced by Dennis Leary, best known as Diego from the terrible Ice Age franchise. Manny, a praying mantis and magician, voiced by the late Jonathan Harris, whom I remember from Pinocchio and the Emperor of the Night. Gypsy, a gypsy moth and Manny's beautiful wife and assistant, voiced by the late Madeline Kahn, who's been in Young Frankenstein, The Muppet Movie, and An American Tail. Rosie, a black widow spider and Dim's tamer, voiced by Bonnie Hunt, who got to be in Jumanji, Cheaper by the Dozen, Zootopia, and voiced Duchess Matilda in Sophia the First. Tuck and Roll, two twin Pillbug brothers from Hungary, both voiced by Michael McShane, who got to be in Final Fantasy X, Tower of Terror, Tom and Huck, and Happily Never After. Dim, a rhinoceros beetle that plays the ferocious beast, voiced by Brad Garrett, who got to be in Jetsons the Movie, Ratatouille, The Country Bears, and Casper. And he'll be voicing Eeyore in Christopher Robin this summer. And finally, P.T. Fleck, the ringmaster of the circus, voiced by Pixar's good luck charm, John Ratzenberger. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, A Bug's Life is a good movie, and to me, it's Pixar's darkest and most serious film yet. The animation is a tad dated, but it's not too bad. The main character, Fleck, is relatable. Atta is a hard-working leader, and I know she'll be a great queen. Dot is a spunky little ant, and I like that she looks up to Fleck. Fleck's circus friends are all memorable and funny at times, and the villain Hopper truly does deserve to be up there as one of Pixar's greatest villains. And while I'm sad that Bugs Land will be closing this summer, this movie does deserve a special place in my heart as a great Pixar film. I give this film a 97% out of 100. Well, that's it for today, ladies and gentlebugs. Be sure to join me again next time, because next will be time to solve a royal mystery. Mustang Power.
But things won't be like this. with my metamorphosis, I'll be a beautiful butterfly. To see my pretty wings and my new antenna things, I'll be way up high when I fly. Yes, I'm a caterpillar, I get no respect. Well, all of that will change, I'll be a brand new insect. No more pesticide, food and night, brushed aside, stepped on by shoes. But until then, I've got the lonely lava caterpillar blues. Look out, world, here I come.
Okay now, cook it up. Take it away.